Let's get right into it. Number 10. Pacing and gesturing on the phone. Ever notice how you can't sit still during a phone call? You start pacing around your house like you're trying to hit a step goal in one conversation. 1 minute you're in the kitchen, then the living room, then somehow you end up in the bathroom staring at yourself in the mirror. This isn't just you. This behavior shows up across all cultures and ages. Scientists have been scratching their heads about this one for years, and it's often paired with its equally weird cousin, gesturing on the phone. You're on a call with your mom. She can't see you, but there you are, waving your hands around like you're directing traffic. Some researchers think it's our brain's way of compensating for the missing visual cues. When we talk face-to-face, we get information from body language and facial expressions. On the phone, there's just a disembodied voice. So our bodies might be trying to make up for this lack of input by creating physical movement, or our hands start moving automatically, trying to draw out our thoughts in the air. Other scientists think it's related to something called cognitive loading. That's a fancy way of saying movement might actually be helping us think better. When ancient humans needed to solve problems, they were usually walking around, not sitting still. So maybe our brains work best when our bodies are in motion. Studies have shown that people who pace while on the phone can actually remember conversations better than those who sit still. It's like each step helps stamp the memory into our brains. Here's the part that really baffles scientists. Even people who have been blind since birth do this. People who've never seen anyone pace or gesture while on the phone still do it. This suggests it's not a learned behavior. It's somehow hardwired into our brains. Number 9. Thought evaporation. You're in the middle of explaining something super important, and suddenly your brain just stops. Like you're telling a story, and mid-sentence, your mind goes completely blank. It feels like your thoughts just evaporated into thin air. Scientists call this mind blanking, and they don't have a solid explanation for why it happens. It's not like the memory is actually gone. The thought is still in there somewhere, hiding in your brain like your keys when you're already late. This happens to everyone, regardless of age or intelligence. Your brain, this super complex computer that can remember the lyrics to songs you haven't heard in 20 years, just randomly decides to Control-Alt-Delete your current thought. Sometimes you walk into a room with a clear purpose, and the moment you cross the threshold, you have no idea why you're there. This is a related phenomenon called the doorway effect, where passing through a boundary seems to reset our short-term memory. Scientists have tried to study this in MRI machines, but it's like trying to photograph a ghost. It happens randomly and only lasts for a few seconds. Some researchers think it might be your brain's way of spring cleaning, clearing out unnecessary thoughts to make room for new ones. Others suggest it could be a primitive survival mechanism. Maybe our caveman ancestors needed to quickly forget what they were doing when a saber-toothed tiger showed up. But that doesn't explain why it happens when you're just trying to remember what you wanted from the fridge. The harder you try to remember, the more it slips away. And just when you've given up, the thought often comes back, usually at 3 a.m. when you're trying to sleep. Number 8. The stair miscalculation. You know that heart-stopping moment when you're walking downstairs and your foot suddenly drops into nothingness? Or when you're going up and there's an extra step your brain wasn't expecting, causing you to stumble? This weird brain glitch happens to all of us, even on stairs you use every single day. You'd think after walking up and down the same flight hundreds of times, your brain would have it perfectly mapped out, but for no reason at all, it just decides to malfunction. Scientists call this a proprioceptive miscalculation. That's just a fancy way of saying your brain messed up figuring out where your body is in space. For every set of stairs, your brain creates a prediction model, like a tiny architect in your head measuring each step. This allows you to walk up and down without consciously thinking. It's the same system that lets you touch your nose with your eyes closed. But for some reason, this system occasionally just breaks. Studies show this happens more often when you're tired, stressed, or distracted. But here's the really weird part. It also happens more often on familiar stairs than unfamiliar ones. It's as if your brain gets too confident, stops double-checking its work, and assumes it knows the layout perfectly, leading to the error. Some scientists think this might be a leftover alert system from our evolutionary past. When climbing trees or navigating uneven terrain, a single miscalculation could be fatal. So maybe this occasional jolt is our brain's way of shocking us back into paying attention. But nobody knows for sure why our internal mapping system decides to randomly fail. Number 7. The third-person narrator voice. You know that weird thing your brain does where you start narrating your own life like you're in a documentary? She reached for the coffee mug, unaware that it would soon slip from her tired fingers. That's your brain suddenly deciding to turn your life into a Netflix series that nobody's watching. Scientists call this third-person self-talk, and they're pretty confused about why we do it. Almost everyone does this, but nobody really talks about it. It's like we all have this secret Morgan Freeman living in our heads, commenting on our daily activities. And this narrator usually shows up when we're doing something completely mundane. You're not narrating yourself winning an Oscar. You're narrating yourself making a sandwich. As he spread the peanut butter, Dave wondered if this was truly what his life had come to. Some researchers think it's your brain's way of gaining perspective, stepping back to watch yourself from the outside. By switching from I to he or she, you create psychological distance, which can actually help with emotional regulation. But that doesn't explain why it happens spontaneously while you're just washing dishes. This voice often seems to know things the character doesn't, like when you're looking for your keys, and the narrator in your head goes, "Little did she know, the keys were in her other jacket all along." It's like having a slightly sadistic fortune teller in your head, one who's really interested in your minor daily failures. We're all walking around with our own personal narrator, and psychology still has no idea why. Number 6. The unsolicited internal soundtrack. You're in a deeply serious moment, maybe at a funeral, when suddenly your brain decides to blast "Walking on Sunshine" at full volume. Scientists call this phenomenon involuntary musical imagery, or earworms. About 98% of people experience this. Your brain isn't just picking songs at random. Studies show these earworms are often faster than average, with a simple, repetitive melody. But nobody can explain why it happens at such inappropriate times. Like when you're trying to give a presentation, and your internal DJ decides it's the perfect time for Baby Shark. What's really fascinating is that even people who are deaf from birth get songs stuck in their heads. They report experiencing the rhythm and imagined sounds of songs they've seen performed or felt through vibrations. So it's not just about audio, it's a deeper cognitive process. Some scientists think it's your brain's way of keeping itself busy, like a screensaver for your mind, but nobody really knows for sure. What we do know is that the more you try to get rid of it, the stronger it gets. Thanks to that same ironic process theory that causes the Giggle Loop, your brain can even create mashups, with 2 or more songs playing over each other at once. And it gets weirder. Some people report getting songs stuck in their head that don't even exist. Their brain just makes up a completely new tune and puts it on repeat. Scientists have tried to create cure songs to get rid of earworms, but so far nothing works consistently. Number 5. The urge to mess up perfection. You see fresh, untouched snow, a perfect white blanket, and what is your first primal thought? I need to stomp right through it. This weird urge isn't just about snow. You've seen those perfectly arranged displays at a store and felt a tiny desire to mess them up a little, or you've made your bed so perfectly that you almost want to jump on it. Scientists call this destructive play, but why we do it is still a mystery. This urge shows up in every culture studied. Something in your brain just wants to poke holes in perfection. Some researchers think it's about leaving our mark. Your brain saying, "I exist, look what I can do to this perfect thing." But here's the weird part. We only want to mess up certain kinds of perfection. Nobody looks at the Mona Lisa and thinks, "I should draw a mustache on that." It's usually temporary, mundane, perfect things that trigger this urge, like a smooth, unopened jar of peanut butter that you just have to stick a spoon into. Some scientists think it might be linked to our ancient survival instincts. In nature, anything too perfect could be suspicious. A perfectly still pond might hide a predator. An untouched patch of ground could be a trap. So maybe our brains evolved to be wary of perfection and feel a need to disrupt it. But that doesn't fully explain why it feels so satisfying. It's a tiny act of rebellion against order. Oh, you made this perfect? Well, watch this. Number 4. The mental reset headshake. You're going about your day when your brain decides to replay that super embarrassing thing you did in 7th grade. As the cringe memory hits, you do it. A little involuntary headshake, as if you're trying to physically shake the memory out of your skull. This is a universal human behavior that shows up across every culture, and scientists have no solid idea why we do it. It's not a learned habit. People who have been blind their entire lives do it too. They've never seen anyone else do the headshake, but they do it automatically when a bad thought or taste hits them. In fact, we start doing this as babies, way before we learn it from anyone. Infants will do a headshake when they taste something they don't like. It's like we're born with a built-in delete this button that never actually works. The closest theory is that it might be an evolutionary leftover from how animals shake off water. A dog does that full-body shake after a bath to get physically comfortable again. Some researchers think our headshake might be an ancient, repurposed instinct, only instead of trying to shake off water, we're trying to shake off unpleasant thoughts or feelings. We're trying to reset our mental state, but for now, it's a physical tick for a mental glitch that remains a complete mystery. Number 3. Nightmare logic. In a dream, the most insane things make perfect sense. You're having tea with your grandma, who is now a talking giraffe wearing your dad's favorite sweater, and you're just nodding along like, "Of course, Grandma Raff, I agree that we should paint the clouds purple to stop them from raining spiders." Scientists call this bizarre acceptance dream logic, and they have no idea why our brains do this with such conviction. In waking life, if your cat started speaking French and doing your taxes, you'd probably seek help. But in a dream, it's just another Tuesday. This happens to everyone. When you're dreaming, your brain just accepts whatever nonsense is happening. The leading theory is that the part of our brain responsible for critical thinking and spotting absurdity, the prefrontal cortex, goes into a low-power mode during REM sleep. It's like your brain's internal fact-checker decided to take the night off. Meanwhile, the emotional and memory centers of the brain are highly active, mixing and mashing up people, places, and concepts without any logical filter. So, you accept the dream's plot holes because the part of your brain that would normally spot them is asleep on the job. The big mystery is why the brain is set up this way. One idea is that if we remembered dreams too clearly, we might have trouble telling memories from reality, so maybe our brains make dreams nonsensical and hard to recall on purpose, just to keep us sane. Number 2. The false familiarity wave. You're walking down the street and see someone who looks exactly like your old friend from high school. You break into a big, enthusiastic wave, maybe even start to call out their name. Then, in a moment of pure horror, you realize that's not Sarah from chemistry class. That's a complete stranger who now thinks you're insane. This happens to everyone. Scientists call it the false familiarity effect, and they still can't fully explain why our brain's facial recognition systems glitch out so spectacularly. But what's even more universal are the recovery moves. The sudden pretend hair fix, the intense immediate focus on a phone that was in your pocket a second ago, or my personal favorite, committing to the wave and turning it into a very awkward stretch. In that split second of recognition to horror, your brain actually triggers a stress response. Your body treats this moment of social awkwardness as a legitimate threat. Some theories suggest it's linked to our ancient need to quickly identify friend from foe. Better to accidentally wave at a stranger than to miss an ally. Others think it's our pattern recognition system going into overdrive, especially when we're tired or stressed. But there's no clear answer for why it feels so viscerally mortifying, or why the reaction is so completely universal. Number 1. The Giggle Loop. You're at a funeral, or maybe in a really important meeting, and suddenly something mildly funny pops into your head. The first thing you think is, I absolutely cannot laugh right now. But telling yourself not to laugh is like telling yourself not to think about a pink elephant. Suddenly, it's the only thing you can think about, and then it begins. The Giggle Loop. You start thinking about how inappropriate it would be to laugh, which somehow makes the original thought 10 times funnier. Your brain is basically trolling you. It's like having an evil little demon on your shoulder whispering, "Hey, it would be hilarious if you just lost it right now." Scientists call the mechanism behind this ironic process theory. The more you try to suppress a thought or an urge, the stronger it becomes. But that doesn't explain why this happens so powerfully with laughter in the most serious situations. The graver the situation, the stronger the urge to laugh. It's like your brain has a built-in comedy terrorist that activates at the worst possible moments. And once you're caught in the giggle loop, it's almost impossible to escape. You try biting your cheek, which makes you think about how ridiculous you look. You try to think of something sad, but now you're smiling while thinking about sad things, which is its own kind of funny. You're trapped in comedy quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink into the absurdity. It's one of the most powerful, yet least understood, social phenomenon we all experience. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.